This is my avatar walking towards some of the cloth backdrops that I've created. On occasion I use these as a backdrop in some of my still life setup. There's some of the textiles, and they have alpha edges so they stand out. Now I'm flying over towards the painting to take a closer look. This is imported into the virtual world environment and can be used as an object or backdrop in creations. And here's zooming in to see the level of detail that is viewable here. Now I'll fly over towards some of the objects. This is an old card table that I had for a long time, but now, as you can see, it is shot. And these are potato mashers that belonged to my grandmother Murphy. These are old tools and other objects from the farm that I've collected over the years, as well as bones and driftwood. And we're zooming down to a turtle that I had when I was a child, about 4 years old. It was an important part of my life at that time. And we'll go around and take a look at the detailing in the head. And now we'll head on over to another creature that was an important part of my life as a child, and this is a wasp. First time I got stung with a wasp, I was 4, and I still remember the pain of that moment. Now I'll head over and we'll take a look at some other objects, and then at the still life itself. When you enter into a virtual world such as Second Life or Kitely, you take on the persona of an avatar. This is an avatar I quickly threw together, just drew a quick sketch on top of the skin and then imported that in. Nothing I hate worse than just being a generic avatar. So this is myself as my alter ego, C4 Pearl. And the objects that we were looking at were a couple of things I created for the Warrior project, another project I'm working on. And I just went into mouse look, and this way I can fly around and look at objects from different angles and different aspects, see them up close. And we'll fly over to the big still life. Now we're going to enter inside of an object just to give you some idea of the physical emulation of these objects and how they represent things in physical space. They're set up so I can't fly through them. I have to work my way around. And for example, there's a space here I can go through, but I've got to fit myself through it. So we'll kind of drop down and then ease our way on in. And we just hit the back side of the cigar box, so dropping down and coming up from below. And back up and around looking at an old map object I created. And a lot of objects are a combination of both photographic textures and hand-painted textures. For example, along the edge, that is all done by hand on a digital tablet. And now we will rotate around here and zoom down. Come into the back side of the skull object, and this spot is too small to go through. So we'll get around and across the Farland doll, past the scissors, and over to the Hollyhock doll. And this is a creation I modeled after a doll I put together. My grandmother Murphy taught me how to create these dolls out of the flower petals and buds when I was a young child. And that's a nut that looks like a face. And a lotus pod that I photographed at Ryman Gardens. This is a hand-operated drill, an old piece of an old tool. And we'll go over here, a starfish that I had when I was a child in Florida. We just went up the Ohio drifter, piece of driftwood. Now across the manhole cover remains, toy shapes. And looking down at the still life, come in on the backside of Sephoria. This is a creature I created for an animated series I was working on. And we'll go around to the back side of this bicycle to look at some of the detailing that you can see, for example, in the shape of these chain links. And now we'll hover up above, just like in a helicopter or in a drone, and looking down on the objects from above. We'll settle down on the front side and look up at it from basically the vantage point that I used to render out the rendered image, which I both made a print of and then am doing a painting of. In this sequence, I'm going to be showing you some of the wind light settings within the virtual world. These control where the sun is out, the atmosphere, and things such as that. And this is a nighttime scene, a studio lighting scene, and I have a couple of daytime settings that I like to use for when I do the rendering. And each time you pick a different setting, it moves the sun around until it's back in the position you'd set. You can see the shadows moving in the background. And these are some of the generic settings on there, such as sunset, night, sunrise, and so forth. And this is the final rendered image.